So I feel like I need to reiterate that most of our work is one-on-one. You have a trained learning specialist working with the child. You have a trained parent who's taken one of our parent training programs working directly with the child. That's the way it's designed to work, so that there's a body of knowledge and choices to be made as you walk through the program. And for very few children is it a straight line from not reading to reading. For the purposes of this program, I'm going to cover as many of the obvious bases as I can and make it as comprehensive as I can, but still without the aid of a trained learning specialist to guide you through the pitfalls. There's going to be certain limitations to this program. And if you've worked with the alphabet a number of times, you've been doing your exercises, the child is sitting down in a very relatively relaxed, calm state, and they cannot perceive those letters in some fashion with their visual or eidetic memory. The issues that they are struggling with may be beyond the scope of this program. Okay, so we're going to presume that we have had a certain level of success in changing the way the child processes information, so that we've taken this family of symbols, we've used visual and tactile sensory input, sensing the information in a very particular way, to move this information from a very abstract way of perceiving it to something that to the child is relatively concrete, something that he's made with his hands, something that he has visualized, to the extent that he can literally say the alphabet backwards from Z with very little struggle, very little stress. Now you know you're ready to move on to the next place. And the next place is visual auditory integration. Now again, the auditory is not phonics. The auditory is the sound of the word. Because, let's face it, the sound of the word or the sound of or b, k, f, they don't mean anything. Why would our brain expend effort memorizing, committing to memory and resources a bunch of sounds that have no meaning? They don't have any meaning until they become a word. Truck. Truck. And you know what? Once you memorize the word truck with the sound, okay, with the sound of the word has meaning. You picture a truck, you visualize a truck, you imagine a truck. And now that auditory perception has meaning to it. It's going to combine, it's going to integrate with the visual through the word. So by using whole language, we're going to take care of the auditory perception. We're going to eliminate the need for phonics processing. Let me say that again. We're going to eliminate the need to memorize the rules of phonics, the individual sounds phonetically, and we're just going to memorize the words. And you know what? By the time you've memorized the first 100, 200, 300 words, you've got almost every sound there is in the book. You've got almost all the syllables that are going to make up other words. So we will take care of memorizing all of those phonetic pieces, but but through whole language. We don't go from phonics to whole language. We learn our whole language, and then via the whole language, which makes sense to us, which has meaning to these visual spatial thinkers. See? And then through that meaning and context, then we will learn the sounds and the phonics. And notice that we're here in this process, by learning the word with the sound with the word, spelling the word forwards and backwards, we're integrating the visual and the auditory. We're not relying on the auditory to get the visual, we're integrating them together. It's not that the visual perception, the visual meaning, has to come through the auditory, through the phonics. That's why most visual learners, dyslexics and ADD and ASD and PDD, that's why many of us have struggles with the original, the normal flow of reading instruction, the normal path to reading, because it relies so much on the auditory. We need to do it backwards. We need to start with the world that we live in, the visual spatial world. Then I'll get the phonics. I'll get the phonics from the visual, not the visual from the phonics. I know this sounds like it's oversimplified, but as you see it work, you look at your child, it'll make total sense. Paint them a picture. If you want them to know something or do something or be aware of something, paint them a picture, and they will remember what you said. Visual to auditory, not the other way around. What we're going to do is teach the child to do this automatically, so that when they listen, they make a picture. When they read, they visualize. When they hear your voice, they visualize. So they will learn as a habit. We're going to teach them to do this automatically. There's also, I need to mention this, there's also a nice little application online. It's NLC, Speed Reading Made Easy. I know we're talking about just trying to read, much less speed read, right? But as it happens, that program was developed from this. That program also came from our reading, our learning to read program, our reading with dyslexia program. So I would, for $4.99 on iTunes, find NLC Read with Speed Reading Made Easy. NLC Speed Read Made Easy. Download it, $4.99, and it will take you through a series of exercises. Make sure you look at the hints. It will take you through reading one word at a time, that we're going to talk about later. One word at a time. Focus on one word at a time. So we've jumped from struggling with phonics and memorizing pieces and trying to interpret them and put them back together and all of that. We're skipping all that. We're going straight to whole language in a relaxed, focused state, being able to visualize our letters forwards and backwards. We're connecting through the visual, and now let's sit down to go over the exact process of reading, okay? So we've got our words beginning to clear. We're seeing the words. We're able to visualize the words and know the meaning of the words. Let's go right to the next step, which is sitting down with a book and starting to read and put this to use. When we're beginning to read, what we don't want to do is to combine decoding, the decoding process, with the reading process. Those are two very different processes. Now I know in every public school across the country, they encourage you to give the child reading material that is above, slightly above their ability to read, so that they're being challenged. They're getting vocabulary words in that. For many children, again, that's perfectly appropriate. For visual thinkers, visual learners, that is completely inappropriate. Because what it does, every single time we see a word on the page that we don't understand, every time we see a word that is different or new or confusing, we go into puzzle solving mode. And when I say puzzle solving mode, I want you to think stress. Stress. Puzzle solving is stress. It's decoding. It's not memorizing the information. It's processing the information in real time and trying to make use of it and make sense of it. And that process of decoding and puzzle solving is very different than the process of focused memorization. Relaxed, focused memorization. So, two places to be. One of them, and this goes to our visual perception and visual process. We're going to call this puzzle solving. This is where our images are bouncing around. They're bouncing around, bouncing around, bouncing around. And they're thinking, chewing through information. Any of you who have dyslexic, ADHD, ASD, or PDD children, you know this is where they live. This is where we live. We live in this puzzle solving mode. We don't need more practice at this. So when they're in school, when the teacher has a class of children in school, and she's trying to excite them into a puzzle solving state, yes, that may be appropriate for 80% of the kids or 90% of the kids in the classroom. But for children, the group of children that we're talking about, it's exactly the wrong thing to do. And we do it everywhere. We do it with reading, we do it with math, and it's exactly and precisely the wrong thing to do. Yes, other children, call them left-brainers, more auditory learners, they need to get into the puzzle solving mode. But our children are already there. They're already in the puzzle solving mode, and they're doing too much of it. So well-meaning instructors, well-meaning teachers and counselors and speech and language therapists, I appreciate what they're trying to do. Unfortunately for our kids, it's often exactly the wrong thing. So when we sit down with a book, we want a book that is slightly below our reading level. No more than 3 words on the page that are new or unfamiliar. No more than 3. If there's more than 3, find an easier book. And go easier and easier, simpler, until you get to the very basic and you can read with absolute success. One word after another. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. No pausing, no stopping, no stress and struggle. What does this word mean? No. We want to begin with a book that has words that we already know. And if we don't know the words, then have someone read them to us. This is where mom comes in and you read the word. Pick out cat in the hat, pick out green eggs and ham, and read it over and over and over again until each one of those words is absolutely memorized. And maybe we take our spelling and vocabulary words and we put them on cards like this. So we have a packet of about 220 words that we give our students. And it's you know, pronouns, conjunctions. So we're going to go through and we're going to help them. All these abstract words, we got a list of about 220 that we go through. And like I said, mostly they're conjunctions, prepositions, articles, and we're going to work with the children so they have that map. So each of those words is memorized in a way that's meaningful to the child. So let's sit down and let's look at exactly what we want to accomplish when we sit down to read. So the first thing we want to encourage the child to do is when they pick up a book, to look at the cover. Read the title, look at the pictures, a book about bears, and start to form a picture, like a movie, of what it is he's going to be reading. If he's just reading the words, sounding out the words, our experience is that it will be, as Shakespeare put it, a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. If a child sees the story as he would see it if he was watching a movie or hearing a story from his mom or dad, if he sees the story in his imagination, it's going to have meaning. And that meaning is everything. So we're going to start our reading process by doing we're going to start with a very simple exercise. And that is to take the first 3 to 5 minutes of what we're going to read. Growl, a book about bears. And what we're going to do is we're going to begin by focusing on one word at a time. So we're actually going to start by slowing down our reading for some children. And we want to build the focus on one word at a time. There are several ways to do this. The easiest one is pointing at each word. Sometimes, as a parent or as an instructor, we can hide the words in Goldilocks and the 3 bears. The bears eat porridge. Okay? We can point to the words. If necessary, we can cover up some of the words, like just block it out. In the past, I've even made little cards with a window, so that they can only see one word at a time. We do have that iPhone application. It's NLC Speed Read Made Easy, and it will actually program your eyes to see one word at a time. Word at a time. One word at a time. Very useful, very helpful. The next step is to take a few minutes of our reading, and rather than read this big whole chunk, page, 2 pages, we're going to read one sentence. So again, let's say that we've gotten to the point where we can see the alphabet, visualize the alphabet in our imagination. We've been doing our exercises, our focus and relaxation exercises, and now we're going to actually sit down and read. 3 minutes of crosswalks or some juggling, and close our eyes, visualize the shiny red apple with green leaves. And now what we're going to do is read one sentence at a time for 3 to 5 minutes. In Goldilocks and the 3 bears, the bears eat porridge. Nice, slow, steady pace. And we're going to stop at the end of the first sentence. Look up to the left. Visualize. What did we just read? Eating porridge. Bears eat porridge. Good. But real bears eat much more than that. Now, I don't even know what that is, but I can see real bears eating something way more than porridge. And after I hold that image for about 3 to 5 seconds, looking up to the left, looking away from the book, get away from the words, get away from the words. Go to the pictures, go to the movie in your imagination. And they're hungry all the time. Oh, I can make a really cool picture out of this. Now my bears are just hungry all the time. They're always looking for food. I get it. Cool. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take about 5 minutes, and we're just going to read one sentence at a time. If this is too much, if your child can't read one sentence at a time at this level, get a simpler book with shorter sentences, or just read like one part of the sentence. In Goldilocks and the Three Bears. In Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I look away, I look up to the left, my left, and I'm making a picture of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Got it. In the book, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. The bears eat porridge. Bears eat porridge. That's it. But real bears eat much more than that. Okay? They're hungry all the time. There are 8 different kinds of bears. Huh. I see different kinds of bears. Each kind has its own favorite food. Now notice how my picture changes. I have 8 bears, and now I have 8 bears, like probably in groups of 4. I see 4, 2, 4, 6, 8 bears eating different kinds of food. Very good. Okay. So after 5 minutes of reading one sentence at a time, again, watch for frustration, lots of reassurance. Help your child make those pictures maybe funny, interesting, enjoyable, meaningful. And then we'll start reading. Let me skip ahead. Let me see. We start reading about a paragraph at a time. So we'll read for the next 5 minutes. We're going to read, polar bears eat mostly seals. Sometimes they hunt walruses. They also feed on fish and whales that have died. Now I close my eyes. Wow. I'm seeing these giant polar bears eating seals, hunting walruses with the big tusks. And now I see they also feed on fish and whales. Wow. At sea. Like that died. Got it. Polar bears live where it's very cold. Eating lots of food helps them keep warm. So does a thick layer of fat under their skin. That's an easy one to picture. All right. So after we've done that for 3 to 5 minutes, now we're going to read normally. And when I say normally, I'm going to still qualify that to say we never want to read more than a page without pausing and looking up to the left. Hold that image for a few seconds and then move on to the next page. So we're building up these little pieces, these little movie sections, these little vignettes. Each scene, boom, boom, building on the one before it. Building on the one before it. Okay.